make sense. How could the same nurse everyone trusted be linked to these deaths? The first scream broke the quiet night. It was loud, sharp, and full of fear. It came from the maternity ward of St. Grace Hospital in Lagos, a place where new mothers should be happy, not scared. Nurse Amaka ran toward the sound. Her white uniform was neat, her smile calm and kind, and her voice soft, ready to soothe anyone in trouble. By the time she reached the room, a young mother was shaking and crying, holding her tiny baby close. Doctors and nurses crowded around, checking the baby's monitors, talking fast. But Amaka knelt down, placed her hand on the mother's shoulder, and whispered gently. The mother's crying slowed. She felt a little calmer. This was the nurse Amaka everyone loved. She was gentle, kind, and seemed to have golden hands. People said she could calm any baby, make pain feel smaller, and make mothers feel safe. She was admired by patients, doctors, and other nurses. But tonight, things were about to change. Ada was a young nurse intern. She had only been at St. Grace for a few months. She loved helping babies and learning from the best nurses. She had been watching Amaka for days and thought she was amazing. Amaka had a way of making everyone feel safe, even when things were scary. But tonight, Ada felt uneasy. She noticed something strange. In the last month, 3 babies had died under Amaka's care. Not because they were sick or born too early, they were just gone. It didn't make sense. How could the same nurse everyone trusted be linked to these deaths? Ada's heart beat fast. She didn't want to believe it, but a small voice in her head kept whispering, "What if Nurse Amaka isn't as perfect as everyone thinks?" Ada started paying closer attention. She noticed a faint sweet smell whenever Amaka was near. It was like flowers mixed with baby powder. She smelt it again today when Amaka carried the baby to the nursery. The first baby's death seemed like bad luck. The second was scary. The third made Ada sit up in her chair at 2 a.m., staring at the monitors. Each baby had the same pattern. Amaka held them, soothed them, and left. Each death happened quietly at night. Ada wrote notes in her small notebook, careful not to be seen. She didn't know what she would do with the information yet, only that she had to watch carefully. Something was wrong.
It was a Friday night and the hospital was calm. Ada pushed her supply cart past the incubators. That's when she heard it, a soft humming. Amaka was humming a lullaby, the same tune Ada had heard before. Her stomach flipped. She realized the same song had played every time a baby had died. "Are you okay, Ada?" Amaka asked, noticing her staring. Her voice was soft, kind. "Yes, ma'am," Ada said quickly, forcing a smile. But her eyes followed Amaka as she walked away, noticing the sweet smell again. Over the next few days, Ada watched Amaka more closely. She noticed patterns. Amaka always visited certain babies at night. She stayed just the right amount of time to calm them. The lullaby, the smell, the timing, they all matched the times babies had died. Ada tried asking other nurses. "Have you noticed anything strange?" she asked. "You are imagining things," one said. "Amaka is amazing. Babies love her. Mothers love her. You are new. Give it time." But Ada couldn't stop thinking about it. Something about Amaka felt wrong. One night, something happened that scared Ada more than anything before. She was in the nursery doing her night shift. The ward was quiet except for the soft beep of monitors. Amaka walked in, carrying a tiny baby. She hummed the lullaby softly, rocking the baby in her arms. Her hands were shaking as she watched. Everything seemed calm. The baby's eyes fluttered and slowly closed. But then she heard it. Amaka whispered, almost too softly to hear, "Soon." Ada froze. Soon? What does she mean? The next morning, Ada checked the hospital records. Her hands shook. Every baby that died had been held by Amaka within the first 2 days of life. Every death happened at night, and every time the same lullaby had been heard. She wanted to tell someone, but who would believe her? Everyone trusted Amaka. She was loved by all. Ada knew she had to watch more carefully. She had to find proof. The following night, Ada hid in the nursery. She watched Amaka and she entered with a baby. Amaka hummed the lullaby, rocking the baby gently. The room felt heavy. Ada noticed Amaka's fingers twitch slightly. Her smile never left her face, but something in her eyes was hard to read. Amaka placed the baby in the incubator and whispered again, "Soon." Ada's stomach twisted. She knew she had to do something, but what? She was just an intern. How could she stop Amaka without getting in trouble or worse? By morning, another baby had died. The hospital was quiet with shock. Mothers whispered in fear. Doctors checked their notes. And Amaka, she comforted the mothers, smiling, her golden hands gentle and kind. No one suspected anything. Ada felt trapped between fear and duty. She admired Amaka's skill, but she feared the truth. What if Amaka could hurt more babies? What if the next death happens tonight? She decided she had to act. She had to watch Amaka more, learn her secrets, and find a way to stop the danger before it was too late. The next morning, Lagos was already noisy. Cars honked, motorbikes zipped through traffic, and street sellers shouted their wares. But inside St. Grace Hospital, it was quiet. The lights were bright, monitors beeped softly, and people whispered. Very, very quiet, quieter than the noise outside. Ada arrived early. Her notebook tucked safely inside her uniform. Her hands were shaking, but she knew she had to watch Nurse Amaka. She had promised herself she would find out the truth, no matter how scary it might be. Amaka walked into the ward like she owned the place, smiling at everyone. Mothers smiled back, doctors nodded, and even the other nurses seemed to look up to her. She greeted everyone with her soft, kind voice. Ada felt the same admiration she had felt when she first came to the hospital. But she could not forget the babies who had died. As the morning passed, Ada watched Amaka closely. Amaka hummed her lullaby as usual, carrying babies from one crib to another. Ada noticed the sweet smell again, like flowers and baby powder. It was soft, almost nice, but it always made Ada feel nervous. She followed Amaka into the storage room, pretending to get supplies. That's when she saw something strange. A small folded paper was tucked inside Amaka's apron pocket. She could not see what was written, but there was a mark on it, like a symbol. Her heart started racing. What was that? Before she could look closer, Amaka turned and smiled at her. "Are you okay, Ada?" she asked. Her voice was soft and warm. "Yes, ma'am," she said quickly, trying not to shake. Amaka nodded and left. Ada's hands were shaking. That paper, it meant something, and she was going to find out what. That night, Ada got ready for her night shift in the nursery. The ward was quiet, lit only by the soft lights of the incubators. She hid in a corner, keeping her notebook ready. She had to see everything. Amaka entered, carrying a tiny baby wrapped in blankets. She hummed the lullaby, rocking the baby gently. Ada held her breath. She could see the baby's small chest rise and fall. Everything seemed calm.
Then Amaka whispered softly, "Soon."
Ada froze. Soon! What did she mean? Amaka placed the baby in the incubator, adjusting the blankets carefully. She smiled at the mother nearby. "Your baby is safe," she said, her voice soft as honey. Ada wanted to warn the mother. She wanted to shout, but she couldn't. She was just an intern. Over the next few days, Ada tried to gather more clues. She studied the hospital records carefully. She noticed a pattern. All the babies who died had been held by Amaka in the first 2 days of life. All deaths happened at night. The same lullaby was always heard before each death. The same sweet smell followed Amaka wherever she went. Ada's stomach twisted. There was no mistake. Nurse Amaka's golden hands were connected to the deaths. Ada tried talking to other nurses. "Have you noticed anything strange?" she asked one afternoon. The nurse laughed. "Ha ha ha, strange? Ada, you are new. Amaka is amazing. She calms babies like magic. You see." Ada wanted to argue, but she knew she had to be careful. No one would believe her if she just accused Amaka. She had to have proof. That night, Ada followed Amaka more closely than ever. Amaka carried a baby to the incubator, humming her lullaby softly. The air smelled sweet. The baby's eyes closed, calm and trusting. Ada noticed something new. Amaka's fingers twitched slightly as she tucked the baby in. Her smile never left her face, but her eyes looked distant, almost sad.
Ada's notebook filled with observations: lullaby, sweet smell, soon, finger twitch, distant eyes. Every small thing mattered. Suddenly, a mother peeked into the nursery. "Is she okay?" she whispered, voice trembling. Amaka smiled at her. "Your baby is fine. You don't need to worry." The mother nodded, tears in her eyes, and left. Ada's heart raced. The mother trusted Amaka completely, and that was what made it so scary. No one suspected that the woman they loved and trusted could be hiding something dangerous. The next morning, another baby had died. Panic spread quietly through the hospital. Mothers whispered, doctors checked the charts again, and Amaka, she comforted the mothers, smiling, her golden hands gentle as ever. No one suspected anything. Ada felt trapped. She admired Amaka's skill, but she feared the truth. She needed to stop the next death. She needed to know the reason behind Amaka's actions. That afternoon, Ada found a small clue. A mother whispered to her, "Amaka talks to the babies in a way no one else can. Sometimes she hums and murmurs things we can't hear." Ada felt her stomach drop. Amaka wasn't just singing a lullaby. She was saying something important, something that could be dangerous. That night, Ada stayed in the nursery again. She saw Amaka carry a baby to the incubator. The lullaby started softly. The sweet smell was in the air. Ada waited. Then she saw it. A small, shiny object in Amaka's pocket. Ada couldn't tell what it was, but it was enough to make her fear for the baby. Amaka bent over the baby, whispered, "Soon," and walked away. Ada wrote every detail in her notebook, shaking. She knew she had to act. The next night, she would follow Amaka outside the ward. She needed to see everything. By morning, the hospital was quiet again. Mothers whispered nervously. Doctors checked their notes. Another baby had died. And Amaka, she comforted the mothers, smiling, perfect as always. Ada took a deep breath. She knew what she had to do. She had to find the truth about Nurse Amaka before more babies got hurt. Rain beat on the hospital windows like a warning. Lagos was dark and loud outside, but inside St. Grace Hospital, the maternity ward felt very small. The bright lights made every face clear. The beeps of the monitors sounded loud. Mothers clutched their babies. Nurses moved quietly. Doctors whispered. Ada sat at the back, hiding behind a pillar. Her paper notebook was in her hand. Her heart hit her ribs like a drum. Tonight would be a test. Tonight, she would stop pretending. Tonight, she would follow Amaka and find the whole truth. Amaka walked into the ward like a queen. Her smile was bright. Mothers turned to look. Nurses nodded. Even some doctors smiled when she passed. She hummed the same soft lullaby. The sweet smell followed her like flowers and baby powder. Ada did not move. Her eyes did not leave Amaka.
Amaka stopped by a new mother's bed. A small baby lay sleeping. Amaka leaned close. She spoke soft words to the child. Then she reached into her pocket and took out a tiny bottle. Ada's breath left her chest. She had seen that bottle before. Amaka tipped one drop into the baby's mouth. The baby swallowed and slept on. Amaka's hands were gentle. Her face was calm. The lullaby floated across the ward. Ada could not stay quiet any longer. She stood up and walked straight to the middle of the ward. Her steps were loud in the hush. "Stop," she said. Her voice shook. But everyone turned to look. Mothers put their hands to their mouths. Doctors stood up, surprised. Amaka looked at Ada. Her smile did not change. "Oh, Ada," she said, soft as silk. "You are brave to come out." Ada pointed at Amaka. "You are doing this to the babies. You are putting something in their mouths. You are killing them." Her words were sharp. They cut the air. A hush fell so deep you could hear the rain on the windows. Faces turned from Ada to Amaka. The mother whose baby had been touched started to cry. She held her child closer. Amaka lifted her palms as if to calm the room. "Listen," she said. Her voice was even, like someone telling a story. "You all want to know why. You want to know why I do it. You want a reason." Doctors moved closer, their faces hard. A senior doctor said, "Nurse Amaka, step aside. We will check." Amaka laughed a soft, ugly laugh. She did not step aside. She looked around the room and saw the man in the glass office across the hall. That man was Mr. Namdi, the owner of the hospital. He had come that day to check the wards. He watched through the door, his face white. Amaka turned her head slowly and said so everyone could hear, "Do you see him? The one who owns this place. I came back for him. I came back to make him feel what I felt." Whispers flew like birds. People leaned forward. Ada felt her knees go weak. Then Amaka spoke the story like a slow, heavy drum. "Many years ago, I came here with my baby. I had no money. The man who owned this hospital then, his name was different, but he is the same family. He looked at me and he would not let the doctors help me because I could not pay. He said no. My baby died in my arms. I begged. I cried. No help. Only the cold of that room. My baby died." Her voice cracked. Tears ran down her cheeks. The room felt colder. A nurse covered her mouth. A mother started to scream and then stopped, stunned. Amaka kept going. "I promised myself then I would return. I promised I would make them no pain. I learned how to be a nurse. I learned how to make people trust me. I learned how to be loved. And then I used that love like a blade. I used it to hurt them where it would hurt most." She looked straight at Mr. Namdi. I wanted them to cry the way I cried. Mr. Namdi's face went red. He stood up and walked out toward the ward slowly, his steps heavy. He could not say a word at first. Mothers were crying now, holding their babies so tight their knuckles were white. Ada felt a hot wave of anger and fear. She had known Amaka was cruel, but hearing her say the words in the open made the cruel thing real. A doctor grabbed his phone and spoke fast into it. Security, police, this is urgent. The word police snapped at the room and made people move.
Amaka did not try to hide. She stepped forward. Her face had changed. The gentle nurse was gone. The eyes that looked back were hard and bright. I did what I must, she said. You took my child. I gave pain back. Why babies? A mother cried. Why are babies? Amaka looked right at that mother. Because it was the only way to make the family that hurt me feel the same pain. I wanted the place to remember what I felt. Her voice was flat, like someone who planned this for a long time. Ada wanted to scream. She wanted to run and hold every baby, but she stayed. She had to keep her head clear. She had to keep the story true, in case anyone tried to say she lied. A young doctor moved forward and asked quietly, Amaka, do you have more bottles? Do you use something else in the ward? Amaka smiled a small smile and reached into her pocket. She pulled out a small bag and set it on the table. Inside were clear bottles and slips of paper with names. The paper slips had names of babies she had touched. Gasps filled the room. One mother fainted. Nurses ran to help. At that moment, the ward doors burst open. 2 police officers walked in. Rain drip on their shoes. A security guard followed. The senior doctor pointed at Amaka and told the police what he had seen. He admitted everything, he said, his voice hard as rock. The police moved fast. They stepped to Amaka and put hands on her shoulders. She did not pull away. You are under arrest, the taller officer said, for poisoning and for the deaths of babies. You have the right to remain silent. Amaka laughed, a thin, airy sound. Take me away. Her shoulders were loose, as if she had already given up. She looked at the babies, at the mothers, and for 1 second, her face was blank. Then it was empty, as if nothing could touch her inside. The mothers yelled and cried while the police led her out. Some threw things at her on the way. Others sat in stunned silence, hugging their children. The lullaby that once sounded sweet now felt wrong in the ears of everyone. Mr. Namdi stood in the doorway, his hand at his mouth, eyes wide. He had no words. He had to cover his shame with his suit jacket. He looked at the mothers and then at his own hands and felt very small. The next days were full of questions and noise. The police took Amaka away. Investigators came to the hospital. They checked files, saw the bottles, spoke to mothers, and watched old security videos. What Ada had written in her notebook was used like proof. Her careful notes, the times, the lullaby, the smell, everything matched. People cried. People shouted. The hospital owner issued a public apology. He said he had been wrong long ago. He said he would work to make things right, but some things could not be fixed. Amaka was put in a cell. The news told the story across Lagos. People said the ward had been a place of trust. Many felt foolish. Others felt angry. Ada sat in the same spot where she had first watched Amaka. Her notebook lay closed on her lap. She felt empty and heavy, but she also felt a quiet pride.
She had trusted her eyes. She had spoken. She had helped stop more pain.
Weeks later, a court case began. Mothers came and told the judges how they held their sleeping babies and suddenly lost their trust. They told the truth about the nurse who smiled and the bottles that killed. Amaka sat in a chair, not crying, not talking much. The judge listened. He looked at the papers. He looked at the mothers. In the end, Amaka was found guilty. She was sent away. The law would keep her from hurting more children. Some people said justice was done. Some said nothing could bring back those babies. The pain stayed in their hearts. In the hospital, things changed. Everyone was watched more closely. Nurses had to take more classes. The owner gave money to help mothers who could not pay. He and his family promised to make sure hospitals could not treat people like that again. Ada kept working. She grew stronger. She read her papers and learned more. She became a nurse that mothers trusted, but she never forgot the smell of the word or the lullaby that had hidden danger. Years passed. The story of Nurse Amaka became a warning. People told it to remind others, be careful about who you trust. Watch the small things. Listen to your heart when it says something feels wrong.